Good Tuesday afternoon. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love CVille Show. We're live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille Network. A lot of news on today's broadcast. Folks, the big business of educational pods. We will break that down as businesses that are pivoting their model are now trying to cater to the mom and dads and the kids that are virtual learning. A lot of businesses changing their model to go after this new customer base. We'll cover that on the I Love CVille Show. We have, folks, news from Virginia Tech football in Blacksburg. One of the Hokies' best football players, a defensive back that was projected to be a first-round draft pick, has chosen to sit out this football season because of fear of contracting COVID. He reflects on a time when he was in a locker room with all his teammates and coaches in a locker room that had very poor ventilation and no one with mask on. This particular football player says, "To heck with this. I am out of here." We will talk about the frustrations of a defensive back, Caleb Farley, that posted a column on Pro Football Tock explaining why he opted out of this season. I expect many first-round draft picks to opt out of the 2020 campaign for fear of COVID, for fear of injury in a condensed season, for fear of impacting their earning potential as first-round draft picks in the NFL. That story coming up on the I Love CVille Show. We have the 2020 report from the Charlottesville-Albemarle Association of Realtors to go through, guys. If you're a realtor, watch today's show. Tag a realtor if you're watching today's show. We will talk about UVA students returning to Charlottesville. It's happening, and it's happening really, really, really soon. Some of the students have explained some of the difficulties they're having in getting testing and getting PPE to test themselves and just registering online. Those stories coming up. Anwar Allen is going to join us on today's program. The man, the myth, the legend behind Allen's Scottish Shortbreads on today's broadcast. And folks, a lot of news on today's broadcast. That last headline, Judah, about Pac-12 players being cut is from yesterday's show. And it should be replaced with the one that I sent you before the show, my friend. So if you can remove the one from yesterday and put the one in from today, that would be greatly appreciated. We want to give some love to Interstate Pest and Service Companies and to Scott Wagner, Chiropractic and Sports Medicine, guys. Interstate is a four-generation business. They are doing things the right way in Charlottesville and in Central Virginia, a home's best friend. And how about Scott Wagner of Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine? Physical therapy, chiropractic care, sports medicine, changing people's lives. And our newest sponsor, Ting, guys, with crazy fast internet. You're going into a time where your kids are going to be learning at home virtually. You have an opportunity to save $288 through the I Love CVille Show at ilovecville.ting.com. That URL should be on screen. We're going to go to our first headline, and it's the big business of educational pods, boys and girls. We have ACAC now offering educational pods. Judah, get the headline on screen now. We have a gymnasium and a club that is one of the best in Charlottesville and Central Virginia, now offering to the tune of a little over $300 million or $300 a week, $300 a week, an option for your kids to learn in a quasi-school setting. So here's the nitty-gritty. If you're a member of ACAC, your price per week is $315 per student at ACAC. If you're not a member, it's $335 for non-members. This is big money. Let's just talk $315 and the price is a member. I'm a member over at ACAC, folks. So $315 a week, your kid gets to learn in a pod setting. Capacity is limited to the first 84 registrants. So 84 people will have this opportunity. $315 a week, very quickly, 630, that's $1,230 a month. $1,230 over a 30-day period will give your son or daughter an opportunity to be divided up into a pod at ACAC that has student enrollment between 12 and 16 students per pod. That is a lot of money. That is flirting with private school tuition money. Okay, this is what you're seeing. You're seeing the top price point being private schools. And in that category of private schools, there's some more expensive ones and there's some lower price ones. So the top price point is private schools for fall semester. Those private schools are giving you the opportunity to learn in person. That's why they're the top price point. The price point right below private schools is this privatized pod setting that ACAC, the YMCA are forming. You're also seeing this in a number of private clubs in neighborhoods where if you're a member of a private club in a neighborhood in Charlottesville or in Central Virginia in Albemarle County, if you're a member of one of these clubs, you're now hearing rumor and scuttlebutt and innuendo from the folks that run the clubs that their clubs are going to be open for you to learn in-house within the neighborhood, within the gates, on a pool deck type of setting, playground type of setting, inside the club at one of the respective rooms that are not being used. So you have number one most expensive option in the market for 2020, you have private schools. The option right below that is what we're seeing with ACAC, what we're seeing with the YMCA, what we're seeing with private clubs and neighborhoods across Charlottesville. Probably the one right below that, it does not require a club membership, is parents just getting together to recruit a teacher from the public schools to teach their kids in their respective houses and have it rotate from a house to house. That's the next level. The level right below that is just parents themselves teaching the pods themselves. Not going to work, maybe taking a day off from work, buying school supplies themselves, teaching the kids themselves as parents in a rotating pod scenario. And then you have the virtual learning environment that's being offered by the public school. So undoubtedly, you are seeing the commoditization and the privatization of educational learning environments across Charlottesville and Central Virginia. And folks, I'm telling you right now, this is here to stay for a very long time, at least for the next few years. How this impacts the public schools, only time will tell. Only time will tell. But I don't see them recovering, and I'm just being a realist here. I don't see the switch just being flipped like this and saying spring semester is going to be fine. I think the public schools are going to take a couple years to recover. And how about the teachers that are leaving their retirement to go and work at an ACAC or work at a YMCA or work at a clubhouse in a private neighborhood, at a private club in a private neighborhood, or work with parents in rotating houses? How about the teachers leaving their retirements and them getting to their 20 or to their 30? Fast enough, okay? They're taking a year off, maybe two from their 20 or their 30 for retirement pay. So this is a really big deal. ACAC coming in at a pretty, and ACAC is doing the right thing. ACAC is doing the right thing. I love this club. I love this club. I am there 5 days a week. I love this club, okay? I literally am seeing them operating at a skeleton from a capacity standpoint and a skeleton from an employee standpoint managing the facilities. I'm either at the Pantops or the downtown location all the time. The downtown location is one of the most popular ones in ACAC. ACAC's all their locations. Downtown, one of the most popular ones, except in COVID-19. So ACAC is doing what it needs to do to survive. It's pivoting its model. It's now saying we're going to be a pod for your kids to learn. We're going to charge you $315 to $335 per student, and that's a weekly charge. You're going to be billed every single week. That $315 or $335, your card is going to get hit, or you're going to have to strike us a check every single week to help us with cash flow. And I freaking love it. They have huge buildings all over Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and Central Virginia. ACAC does. These buildings are not being utilized to their fullest extent. These buildings are incredibly clean, incredibly sanitized. They have high-speed internet in the buildings. They have employees committed to the safety and health and cleanliness of these buildings. These buildings are perfect for pods. And there should be no fault to ACAC to go after as much money as it can humanly do. Because like so many businesses in America, all it's trying to do is survive and pay its monthly debt service, guys. And its monthly debt service is astronomical. You will see more clubs and karate dojos, boys and girls clubs. Okay? You will see after-school programs that maybe are geared for golf and sports pivoting and offering the educational piece because the market is chomping at the bit for this offering. It's capitalism at its finest, and it literally is the commoditization, the privatization of education in America and in Charlottesville, Virginia. We're watching it with our own eyes. Next headline, Judah Wickower, comes from restaurants. We have two senators in Mark Warner and Tim Kaine, both Democrats in Virginia, that have co-sponsored the Real Economic Support bill. It's a bill that acknowledges the unique struggles of locally owned restaurants. It's legislation that would establish $120 billion, 120 with a B, $120 billion of revitalization money for independent restaurants across America. I'm going to give you some crazy statistics here, okay? These are statistics. The Bureau of Labor Statistics estimates that the restaurant industry has lost more than 6.1 million jobs, okay? More than any other industry, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, this industry has been ravaged, it's been raped, it's been left behind. 6.1 million jobs lost, okay? The National Restaurant Association estimates that in Virginia alone, 237,000 Virginians have lost their jobs in Virginia alone tied to restaurants. I mean, that is a startling number. A startling number. So you have a bill sponsored by two Virginia senators that could push $120 billion through the pipeline for locally owned restaurants. And I'm here to say, bring it on, bring it on, bring it on. The restaurants need it. The local restaurants, the locally owned restaurants have been hit harder than anybody out there. The only folks that are sniffing close to what the local restaurants have gone through is the wedding professionals and wedding events, and they are right there, equally hit as hard as these guys. So $120 billion. If you're in the wedding and event space, you have to see this as a positive. They're thinking about an industry in restaurants, and they're figuring out a way to get them money. This is leverage for you to potentially get more money from the federal government for the wedding and event space from a relief standpoint. Local restaurants have been begging for this money. We do not have the burn rate, they say, to sustain COVID-19. The July 31st unemployment $600 a week money is now finito, gone. And employees that otherwise were collecting the $600 a week are now asking their former bosses to put them in coach. They are ready to play. They're ready to earn some income. Unfortunately, those jobs just are not there. And how could they be? Restaurant indoor capacity is operating at a 50% clip of indoor capacity. Consumer confidence is low right now for supporting restaurants because of fear of COVID. We need this money to come and support these locally owned restaurants. Now, I will say this, okay? I am a father of a young little boy, okay? I worry as a father of a young little boy that all this relief money that is coming, the PPP relief money, the $1,200 people got, whatever the number you got if you had a kid. I mean, there's a lot of money coming from the federal government being pumped into the local economy. Eventually, we will have to face the gatekeeper of inflation, of stagnation. Eventually, we will have to face the gatekeeper of where is all this money and how is it going to be paid back? Does it mean my 2-year-old gets hammered and has to pay back for these mistakes? Does it mean you may not have Social Security? For those that are thinking about retiring, is your Social Security in jeopardy? okay? Eventually, you have to face the reaper and figure out a way to pay back the money that you flooded the economy with. This is one of the reasons why the gold in my portfolio is spiking. This is one of the reasons why 2 months ago on this very talk show I said, buy gold, buy gold, buy gold. Invest in a company like Newmont Corporation that literally its entire company is mining for gold. Newmont Corporation is up in my portfolio. Okay? My gold positions are up. The gold that I have in a safety deposit box is up. Buy gold. It's your hedge against flooding cash into this marketplace. Eventually, we're going to have to face the reaper. But $120 billion could be coming down the pipe for restaurants. Next headline before we get to Anwar Allen. I've been following this closely. Do you realize from a macro headline that Microsoft is on the cusp of acquiring TikTok? TikTok is a social media app that is incredibly popular with teenagers, in particular female teenagers. If you're a parent of a female teenager, your daughter is on TikTok maybe as we speak. Here's the problem with TikTok. It's owned by the Chinese. And right now, the relationship between the United States and the Chinese is not good. As a result, our current administration is saying we may keep TikTok and block it in the United States so people cannot access it. In fact, Donald Trump, our president, is in some ways influencing the market and encouraging Microsoft to purchase TikTok, putting a limitation on when this deal can happen, and actually saying if the deal can go through, the federal government should get a kickback, almost a broker fee, almost as a venture capitalist or an investment bank would get if they help put a deal together. They get a commission or a stake of that deal, a percentage of that deal kicked back to them for their effort. So I don't know what to make of this. As a libertarian, the last thing I want is the federal government influencing economic policy, the federal government having their hands on actually deals being made and influencing a company like Microsoft to purchase a company from China that's owned by China and saying you have a limited time to make this deal. Then the other aspect of me says I'm freaking terrified of what China could do to this country. Okay? And limiting access for China in this country maybe is a good thing. I'm sick and tired of China ripping off the IP of American businesses and peddling it as their own. And maybe the government needs to get involved here and keep the Chinese from doing this to America. Okay? So there's a lot of layers to this onion. But folks, the federal government legitimately is influencing a company in Microsoft that is publicly traded and encouraging this company to buy TikTok, a privately owned company. I mean, this is just unparalleled. Unparalleled in business history of studying economics and studying American business. I have not seen a president use his influence to get a publicly traded company to buy a Chinese company and then ask the government for a kickback on that deal, or say the government deserves a kickback on that deal. It's just startling. It's startling. We will follow this very closely. Next, the Q2 2020 report from Carr, Judah Wickower. If you could get that on screen. So guys, I'm going to cut to the chase and put your comments in the comment section. We'll get your comments on air, and we'll talk about how you can save $288 through Ting and essentially get free internet for a month and get free installation as we head into our time where you need powerful internet and crazy fast internet more than ever. If there's ever a time in your life that you need fiber internet, it's right now, as your kids are going to be staying home more than ever learning, as you're going to be doing Zoom meetings and Skype meetings from your office. Okay, as little Johnny is taking geometry in the pantry for 45 minutes, or as little Susie is taking geography in the guest bathroom for 45 minutes learning from home, you better have that fiber internet. Okay, so before we go anywhere, I'd love to throw the Q2 report out there. Look, the second quarter in the Charlottesville-Almore Association of Realtors, it was not a good quarter. Okay, the second quarter is April, May, June. Okay, It wasn't a good quarter. It wasn't a good quarter because of COVID-19. We know that. We knew that. Here's the thing. Q3 2020 and Q2 2020, in real estate, especially locally, that's legitimately like comparing apples to oranges. The market in Charlottesville, Albemarle Association of Realtors has V-shaped recovered. And Q3 is chomping at the bit for inventory. Is the Q2 car report ugly? Yes. Yes, it's ugly. Sales activity slowed in the car housing market this quarter as COVID-19 uncertainty continued through the spring months. I'm reading verbatim from the car report. There were 1,181 sales throughout the car footprint in the second quarter. That's 16% less year over year compared to 2019. Okay? Here's the thing. You had less homes sold, but the price, the sales price of the home is continuing to increase. I will say this till I'm blue in the face, and I know this from firsthand experience. Boys and girls, the first piece of property that I ever purchased in my entire life was a condo, 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a den at the Villas at Southern Ridge in 2008, 2009 at the top of a market in what was phase 1 of a 5-phase development. Real Estate 3 was rolling out the sales force of the Villas at Southern Ridge as a developer with the last name of Fry from Virginia Beach, converted in an apartment complex to a condo complex. And this developer dumped a bunch of money into this South Side apartment complex, and he converted them from apartments. Literally, the Villas at Southern Ridge, before they were converted from apartments to condos, literally, this place was a sketchy spot to be in on the south side of Charlottesville, right on the urban ring on the city-county line. So I bought as a 25, 26-year-old, and I bought a piece of property in phase 1 thinking that there would be 5 phases of built-in equity. Phase 2 goes up 10K, phase 3, 5K, phase 4, 5K, phase 5, another 5K, whatever the sales team had over there. And you had fabulous people selling these properties. You had Dan Pettit. You had Rick Spagoni. You had Amanda Spagoni. You had a fabulous Real Estate 3 team selling the Villas at Southern Ridge on the south side of Charlottesville. I got it at phase 1. Well, here's what happened, okay? The housing market hit the crapper. It literally hit the pooper. It hit the crapper. And anyone who bought in at phase 1, well, the built-in equity that they had for phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5 did not happen. In fact, the values of the properties dropped dramatically. I'm talking 15%. So something that you bought that was $180,000, within 12 months, my $180,000 purchase was then valued $18K plus $9K is $27K. Do some quick math. 180 minus $27K is $153,000. Think about this, boys and girls. I'm a 25, 26-year-old. I'm doing the American dream. I'm buying a condo. I'm launching a business at the same time. I have the world in my palm. I'm confident, I'm hungry, and I'm willing to work. Within 12 months of buying this investment, a $180,000 position becomes $153K in value, drops 15%. At the same time, I launch a company out of this condo with the world by the you-know-what, and I don't have clients for 6 months, and my life savings is dwindling to dust. So I have the key investment in my portfolio dropping 15%. I have the life savings that I used to start my company literally dwindling to nothing because I have no clients in this company, and I'm taking food from the Panna Garden buffet in Ziploc bags, and I'm bringing it home for my food for days, and Lucy, the beautiful brown dog, her food for days out of my condo. I literally have to rent rooms out of my condo to my homies, to my buddies, to my fellas, below market value to save the place and not default on the mortgage. 3 bedrooms One goes for 400, the other one goes for 450 because it was a little bit bigger and it had the bathroom right around the corner. If it wasn't for that 850 of those 2 bedrooms that I rented, I would not have been able to afford the 1,050 and the HOA of $175 at the time. But here's the moral of the story. That piece of property that dropped 15% in 2008, it is now a rental property that's free and clear of debt. That property now has appreciated in value and is now valued higher than what I paid for it. And I have a tenant in there that's amazing, that is covering everything and allowing me to go to a P.O. box to collect a check and walk away with a nice nut of money that I'm throwing against my rest of my debt service in my real estate portfolio and fast-tracking 2 other mortgages. The moral of the story is as follows. In the Charlottesville, Albemarle County metropolitan market, we have a strong economy, massive employers like UVA, like State Farm, like CFA, like Martha Jefferson, like INGIC, and the list goes on and on and on. Because of these massive employers, our economy is insulated, and real estate is a valuable and smart investment for you. I wish when I bought this condo in 2000, when I was 25, 26, that the interest rates were the 3% that they are now. I paid 6 1/8, maybe it was 6 1/4 on mine. You have a decision on your hands. You can change your life forever and purchase a piece of property at a 3% interest rate that you will never see these rates again in your life. And you can do it in an area that's insulated for the most part from national trends. And you will reflect on this decision and you will say, that is when I started building generational wealth and my future started changing financially. I swear to God, now's the time. Now's the time. Anwar Allen is going to join us in T-minus 2 minutes. Anwar, we're going to get to you. It is a phenomenal time to buy a home. I'm going to save the UVA students, the Virginia Tech football, and what should football do to after Anwar Allen on the broadcast. I'm reaching out to Anwar now, Judah. I'm giving you the heads up here on the I Love CVille show. In fact, it's ringing. Allen's famous shortbreads. Anwar, you are live on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter with a lot of folks watching you. Good afternoon. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. No pressure.
No pressure.
Right?
Where do you want to go? Any topic we want to cover so far, or any topic that you have on your brain, I will adapt to you.
Well, I was listening to your show, actually. You had an awesome little conversation going on already. I think you were talking about business and education, actually. I mean, education kind of fascinates me now. I mean, just because we're a young family and we've got a lot of little things that we have to think about. Our oldest daughter's 12, and we are in a similar situation. A lot of parents are trying to figure out what to do with their kids. I mean, it's coming up fast.
Can I ask you what you guys are going to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting position we're taking. We're going to do a little homeschooling. But it'll have a little bit of structure to it. This will be our first year homeschooling, actually. So this is going to be wild for us. It's going to be classical conversations is what it'll be. And classical conversations, it's a little different than some other homeschool groups out there. But one of the main premises is that it takes a lot of what the best learning capabilities are of that kid at that age, and it makes it so the learning style it goes in line with how their brains are functioning, essentially. So it's a lot of memorization at the first part of it, which is like the grammar stage, and then after that, it's taking a lot of the grammar components of every subject, not just literature, but the language of it, math and history and all those things, and putting it together later on where they can formulate arguments and ideas. So it goes along a lot of the same pathways of a traditional public school. And, likewise, last year, my daughter did she was in Regents, which is a private school, a small private school that does a classical type of education. So they went along. We were kind of used to this type of system, so we kind of made that little jump. Our decision was in part because of our business. We need to have flexibility with our business and classical conversations, that type of homeschooling environment. It allows us that flexibility. A lot of people don't know it. A lot of movie stars, a lot of just people that are on the go a lot, kid musicians, whoever, like personalities, they homeschool. They have to because they have to have flexible education. So, anyways, I'm actually.
Do you feel? I mean, okay. So you are brilliant. Your wife is brilliant. We've talked on the show how smart your wife is and some of the experiences that you relayed to us the first time from you guys at UVA.
Yeah.
So you guys are two off-the-charts bright parents. On top of that, you have the flexibility of being self-employed with a thriving business. So is it safe to say, here's a two-part statement, I'm going to throw it to you. Is it safe to say, very fortunate here, parents are going to relay that to the kids and being able to teach them from home? I mean, this is a good position to be in. We're also in a similar position with our family, and that my wife's able to stay home. So throw that topic to you and how it could relate to others that are not in equally as a fortunate position, Anwar.
Yeah, man, it's a crazy situation because people, I can imagine it's tough for some people. They got to go back to work. They got to put food on the table. We're going back in these new phases where the governor or, the rest of the country is going to say, look, we need to get the economy back and rolling. So you're going to go back to your desk job if you still got it. You're going to be doing accounting or marketing or whatever. Everything's got to go back to some amount of normalcy. And you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do with your kid. You know what I'm saying? And I heard you talking about the Y and ACAC and just opening up these different type of, educational hubs. And I don't know. All of that this is the wild west right now. Yeah. And, and the crazy thing to me is that I had thought about it before, but it didn't really come to a head until just these last couple months, is education is a business. I didn't I met some guy randomly. He sold books, textbooks, and you had Glencoe and you had Macmillan and you had all these other, and you went to college. You had to buy the next edition,
and it was so expensive. It was like $700 a textbook. Yeah.
It's a racket. And yes, I'm glad that the book was edited and the new edition had new information in it, and I understand all that. But I don't need to pay for another edition if it's just got a CD.
It was a marginal change, and we had to buy the new textbook.
Right. So, I think if you can get away with it, if you have the flexibility and you understand what education should be, then by all means, do it. I'm actually going to be teaching my daughter. I never thought I'd be doing it, but I'm actually going to be teaching or directing this. It's a conversation where all the kids will be doing their own homework, but I will be in a classroom setting, kind of leading. I heard you talking about pods and all that stuff. I think if you got it, why not? Just because of the fact that we are in uncertain times. And I venture to guess that a lot of parents are actually kind of looking at what they had to go through already. They were Zooming. They were doing the schoolwork with the kids. They were leading these conversations at home. They were directing their own classrooms. And they thought to themselves, whether you're private school or whether you're public school, you're thinking, all right, I'm putting this much time in. And then if you're putting money in, you're saying, okay, I'm putting this much money in. What am I getting out of this? What am I going to be doing with my kids, and what's the future of this, and what's the best bang for the buck and time? what's the best time, saving. So I know education is one of them. I thought it was interesting, and I never thought that I'd be in this position.
Do you fear? I'm going to throw this topic to you. Do you fear what's happening with virtual education is amplifying and driving momentum behind the inequalities in the educational system? I mean, here's the thing: it's so unfortunate that a family that does not have economic means, and economic means could be, not having high-speed internet. Or economic means could be both families have to work. In some cases are working double shifts, back-to-back shifts. Maybe one of the parents are doing here. What I'm seeing is I'm seeing, and I'm going to throw this to you and get your take. I'm seeing kids that have parents that have means or affluence or freedom, depending on their profession. They're having opportunities that kids where their parents don't have those luxuries do not. Your thoughts, anywhere you want to go on this topic.
Yeah, I mean, man, you're opening up a can of worms, because there are a lot of problems that our society has right now. There have been inequalities for a long time, and education is just one of them. And I think education it's a bright spot right now. And I think what can happen, what will be the opportunity, is for there to be a possibility for people to send resource, send money to create spaces where people who are disadvantaged, that have a gap, to say, okay, how can we mentor, how can we coach, how can we provide the materials, the resources that others might have. I mean, people will always do that, but the other thing that is a problem that is not being addressed. You can throw money at anything. You can, what I'm saying? There's other systems that also need help, mentoring, for instance. So I've thought about my family. I've thought about where I've come from. I mean. My parents, I grew up in a 2-parent household, you know what I'm saying? But I'm black, you know what I'm saying? I'm African American. But also their values were a little different. I come from Caribbean descent. So there's a lot of things that are going into my story and my upbringing that I can look back on and allow me a little bit of advantage. And I think the one thing that we can do is to start coaching parents, coaching families, coaching communities, providing resource, not just backpacks and pens and notebooks and all that stuff, but ways in which we can actually empower parents, empower single parent homes, empower whether they're male, whatever. They're trying to give back to them, not just the money resource, but also the mental information, the knowledge, to start to see where their decisions impact the future, and to break cycles. Because if you don't know about continuing education, if you don't know that there's a way for you to make it, or if you don't know that there's a resource out there that can help bridge the gap, then you're not really gonna do much if the two aren't together.
That's a good take. Together. That's a great take. Sure. That's a great take. Couple questions for you here. You said that you guys are going to go the homeschooling route. Is it going to be you one-on-one with your daughter?
No. So I'll be going over her math, her history, all that stuff. She's doing Latin, which is I didn't take Latin, I took Spanish. Did public school, by the way. And so, I mean, all these things, she'll have to go through these guided tours into these subjects, to where at the end of the year, she'll have to take the testing modules to say, okay, she reached a certain level of proficiency in these areas. Now, the conversations that we have once a week for like 8 hours, with other students her age, that's where I'll come in. So I'll be helping her with her work, but I'll also be helping lead these conversations of what are you guys reading? What's it really mean? What's the author trying to say here? What's this historical context?
That's a lot of pressure on you.
Yeah, it's a little bit of pressure, but I think I've had a lot of help. There's been other people that have done the challenge. It's called a Challenge A course for this age group. There have been military families. Actually, there's military families. One of them's coming into my class, so they've. I've had a lot of help. One teacher gave me a whole book curriculum
So
for the whole
Anwar,
year.
you're pretty much creating a pod here. That's freaking
Yeah,
amazing, dude.
yeah. Yeah, I am. I didn't think about it that way, but yeah, we are. Because I mean, honestly, what has to happen is I have to have flexibility to do
Your job.
you know,
Yeah.
right? We're I didn't even know that you're talking about the restaurant thing, and was it
120
120
billion.
or 100? Let me get a piece of that. I'm just saying. What do I do? Put myself down as a restaurant? I mean, yes. I mean, I'm gonna do that. And then on the side, I'm doing, we're getting into e-commerce, new ways of e-commerce. So, we're running sales. I mean, we're running big deals. We're doing like a 50 to 70% off deal on our, I'm not sure if I told you, but we did QVC a long time ago. And so we're selling that product at a super high discounted price. And we're just having to be flexible. You know what I'm saying? It's a crazy season for us.
Shortbreads, guys. Alan Scottish Shortbreads are absolutely where it's at. I got a couple follow-ups on the education because that's ringing true right now.
Yeah.
So you're creating a pod,
Yeah.
which is amazing here. How difficult a decision?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a very vulnerable question? Okay.
Yeah,
So the conversation you had with your beautiful better half, how did it go with school? Was it like, do we go the private school route?
Yeah.
Do we go to the pod route, which is what you guys are going? Do we go through virtual learning? Do we put the kids in the actual classroom? What was that conversation like?
Man, there was a lot of things. I mean, a vulnerability of ours, or just a be real thing that we are. Me personally, I read the Bible. I go to church, and so we kind of think about those things too, of how to add her, these global perspectives or these biblical perspectives in with her schooling. So we thought about covenant, we thought about stab, we thought about all of them. You know what I'm saying? And we thought, okay, well, first off,
they're expensive.
Bottom line, we're running.
Yeah, right.
Yes. So and we have two others, you know what I'm saying? Our other one is actually going to be starting up pretty soon. So it wasn't just her. We were thinking about, okay, how do we get everybody to the same place at the same time with the best. I mean, it's tough that money comes down to it, you know what I'm saying? But we were looking at that, our resources, and just saying, okay, for a season, I think we need to navigate this, because we're actually coming into a new time for our business too. I mean, we know businesses that shut down, you know what I'm saying? So we're kind of looking off into the future. Okay, what kind of business are we? How are we going to be doing this? How flexible do we need to be? It's hard to say that somebody, I don't mind taking my daughter to school, but that's one thing that I got to do extra, you know what I'm saying? So it was time, it was money, and then thinking to ourselves, we could possibly do something very comparable to what she got already. That school she was at was awesome. It was probably one of the better schools in Charlottesville, because they had small classrooms and they had dedicated teachers to the same core values we had. So I mean, it was hard. You know what I'm saying? We had to pray about it and go through a lot. Looking at the numbers and I don't know. It was tough for us. And other families have probably made the same decision. I mean, public school, pulling a kid out of public school, I mean, I don't know what that's like, because you're talking about buying books, paying teachers, paying facility fees to the ACAC or YMCA or the church up the street, whatever it might be. There's so many things that, and it's
Right.
August. You know what I'm saying? I didn't honestly, none of this was finalized but maybe 3 weeks ago. Right? So between that and, the uncertainty of COVID and all this stuff, I don't know how people are going to do it.
Well, dude,
but I had to put
serious respect for you, man. I you inspire, you lead, you influence. I would love to continue the discussion of you pretty much. I mean, it sounds like to me, and I don't want to assume, that's why I'm asking. It sounds like to me, in some ways, you're leading a pod of students. Is it in the neighborhood?
Yeah, no, it's going to be, it's actually going to be up at this church. It's Maple Grove Baptist. That's not my church, but it's all good. It's all one, one umbrella of classical conversation.
So are the kids going to Maple Grove Baptist Church? They're meeting there? No?
No, I don't know where they're going to church, where their faith is, and all that stuff. It's just totally parents looking to have. I mean, some of these are military parents, so they're coming back to the States, and they've been doing this system of education for so long. They need to be able to pick up and move and go somewhere else. And so, I went to a little info meeting, and the two nice ladies were there talking about it. And they're like, we've been praying about somebody,
Wow.
and I just, hey, why not? And, the big picture is, I think for me is communities are trying to figure out what the new normal is. So I don't think it's whether it's business, whether it's religion, commerce, politics, people are finding out a new normal, and they're actually finding out that they have not been as involved as they needed to be in kids' lives or politics, or your family wasn't as close as you need. It's like, oh, I only saw you twice a week, and I didn't even know that you took Spanish or whatever. I didn't know these things about you. And the parents are taking an interest in their education now, and they're like, I should be doing this. I should know about my kids. I should know, or you're meeting your husband for the first time, or your wife. You know what I'm saying? They're like, oh, I didn't know you had that on Netflix. Let's watch that together on Netflix. I like that too. And so I feel like it's everything. It's not just education. That's been something that's been working on me. It's just everything is changing. But I think a lot of things are changing for the better. I think it's causing us to come back into something that's actually more of a baseline for us as humans. I think we've been running too fast. We've been for too long. And I think we just need to slow down. You know what I'm saying? So it's been tough. It's been a horrible period for some people. COVID, I mean, but if you turn off the news for one day, you know what I'm saying? You might, and turn on the I Love CVille Show.
Thank you, Anwar. Thank you. I love that.
and do something, listen to something positive or something that's just a little different. Because, I mean, I love me some CNN, I love me some Fox News and some BBC, but they're businesses. You know what I'm saying? They're businesses too, and they're trying to sell a storyline. And if we can, get back to these things that really matter, you can start to say, well, I think it actually, NBA just came back, NFL just, they're coming, MLB. I mean, those are cool things, you know what I'm saying? But it's not like it's not who we're meant to be, I don't think. Our lives are not supposed to be revolving around TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. I mean, I love me all of that,
supposed to be in person.
But just, right. And so education, all these things we're just taking a different look at it. And I think, I hope, hopefully, especially in Charlottesville has a very informed group of people. I think at the end of the day, we're all going to be coming out of this situation understanding that we all want the same things, right? We want our kids to have good education. You know what I'm saying? We want our streets to be paved, so to speak. We want our police to be paid, but we want the good police to be paid.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Because I know some cops. They're good cops.
Me too.
You know what I'm saying? They're good people. You know what I'm saying? Just a couple bad. So I think all in all, education is just one of them. But we all been kind of taking a deeper look at what we've been actually, taking into our minds and kind of digesting in our hearts.
Dude, you crushed this interview. Alan Scottish Shortbreads. I mean, this was even better than the last interview, and the last interview was like a Hall of Fame interview. Alan, get his URL on screen. Figure out how we can get folks interested in Alan Scottish Shortbreads. It's the best shortbreads in the world. It's the best shortbreads in the world. Dude, we got to get you back on here as you are about to navigate. You're about to navigate the very murky waters of leading a pod while running a business. I mean, you have a full plate, dude.
a friend of mine asked me, he's like, so, and he homeschools too. And so he homeschools. He's like a missionary, like he goes to China and stuff like that and hands out Bible. He's a cool dude. But he's got 5 kids, right? 5 kids. He looked at me, or 4 kids. He said, how are you going to do this? Like, if somebody like that...
Dude, I'm asking you right now, and you're like you're like, as Stuart Scott said, you're cooler than the other side of the pillow right now. You're showing no anxiety at all about this.
Maybe I should. So I don't know. Maybe before I talk myself out of it, I'm going to go ahead. The cool thing is I'm doing it with my daughter. She is actually going to be in my class.
Yeah.
And so
when does your pod start?
I get the pod starts, I think it's like early August, late August.
Dude, Anwar.
My wife is on the other side. She's saying in 8 days.
So the pod starts. In 8 days, you have to learn 13 subjects to teach 12-year-olds.
Yeah, you know what I'll probably do?
Is your daughter right there? Is your daughter right there?
No, she's in the other room. My wife is over here. She's hanging out. What I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put it on our page, our Facebook page. If people are interested in an alternative, a classical conversation alternative, I'll put the link on there. They can get some information because there's lots of good stuff out there, and this might be something that might be cool.
Alan Scott Shortbread's page.
Okay. I'll put it on there. Yeah,
dude, we're gonna keep this going. Can we reach out to you again in 9 days to see how the first day of school went?
Yeah, why not? Give me some chance. Give me time to get back into it. I'll give you an update.
Dude, you killed this interview. You're good in this setting. Thank you for joining us.
All right, man. Hey, I love hanging out with you. You have a great show. And I was listening to what you were saying earlier. You had a lot of good points talking about educate in the restaurant and just, I love what you're talking about. I love the trajectory where you're taking, and people are definitely learning and growing alongside with you. I'll put it on there. A link as well to the QVC. It's like a super sale we're doing, so I'll put it on the link. People get. Basically, we're giving
Judah, let's get that link and get it on I Love CVille too for them. So for some free shortbread. I mean, this is a steal. Thank you, Anwar. You have a good one. He was amazing. He's amazing. He's leading a pod in 8 days. It's absolutely amazing. Barbara Lundgren says, we love Anwar and Laura. Barbara Lundgren, just put that on the feed. Steve Brown says, I love Alan Scottish Shortbread. That's from Steve Brown. Give the show a like and a share. Give the show a like and a share. So Kelly Lewis, welcome to the broadcast. Thank you for liking the show. Kelly Lewis, thank you for joining us. So here, let me throw this out here. We just heard from an entrepreneur, a small business owner, a father of 3, a husband of 1, that is launching a pod through a Baptist church that he does not go to. This is the beautiful thing about 2020 and COVID. What is this now? August? Is it the 4th of August? Every single day, it seems like in COVID, is a new battle to fight, a nebulous, changing day where it's different from the previous. And here, we have small business owners that are leading pods that originated at Baptist churches that no one attended. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I own multiple businesses. I'm very much an entrepreneur, very much a guy that goes into a business and says, all right, this is what the team is going to do. And then we do it and we hope it's right. So far, most of the times have been right here. So I've talked about on this program businesses that are emerging due to COVID-19. We've talked about food trucks becoming even more popular. Why? Because the food can be driven to a neighborhood and be enjoyed in an outside setting, outside the neighborhood, as opposed to being tied to a dining room. Food trucks becoming very popular now. Another one we've discussed on this show is the live streaming of the wedding. As the numbers for guests at weddings diminish, or as older folks become less inclined to go to a wedding because they have exposure to COVID-19, a business is emerging. And the business that is emerging is the live streaming of weddings. You're going to have a photographer that photos a wedding as the timeless images that last forever. Now you almost need a live streaming team that strategically positions cameras over a wedding and live streams the wedding to social media, so guests that had to be cut from a wedding because of COVID-19, or guests that are don't have the confidence to go to a wedding, older population because of COVID-19. Now, these guests can almost be there in person watching a wedding on the live stream. That's a business that's emerging in COVID-19, undoubtedly. Here's a business that I think would crush it. Are you ready? Get your pen and paper ready. Get the marble notebook ready. Get the notebook in your hand. This is a business that I think will crush it in COVID-19. If you are teachers in this area, heck, if you're parents and you're looking to start a company, heck, you're looking to launch a new career and you have a skill set in technology, you can literally form an educational pod or an educational setting yourself. These are some of the key factors you need for a pod. You need spacing for your kids to sit. You need trusted and reliable internet from Ting. Crazy fast internet at Ting Fiber. Get the link on screen. You can save $288 through Ting right now at ilovecville.ting.com. The lowest price you can get for Ting, ilovecville.ting.com. So if you're teachers, okay, and you're uncertain about going to a classroom, or maybe you miss interacting with your kids in a classroom and you actually want to teach them in person, or if you're parents and you're not sure what you're going to do about work, or if you're just an average Joe or an average Susie and you're disenchanted with your career, or your career was taken from you because of COVID-19, you can probably, if you had access to a space, high-speed, reliable internet, cleaning products, some iPads and technology, you can launch a company, create your own pod, and you can charge somewhere in the neighborhood of $250 to $335 a week. ACAC and the YMCA are setting the high-end market price point right below private schools. Private schools, the top, okay? You're not going to be able to compete with the private school offering. They're offering in-person education. The next one, ACAC is setting the price, $315 a week, $335 a week for non-members, okay? So teachers, you can be entrepreneurial, form a little group, create an LLC. S corporation is the kind I prefer because of the tax exposure. Create an LLC S corp, and then create your own pod. You have empty storefronts all over Charlottesville. Drive through Fifth Street Station. Fifth Street Station's got to be 40% vacant. Maybe you strike a strategic partnership, a joint venture, and you ask Alamo Drafthouse or the movie theater in Stonefield, can I use one of your movie theaters for my pod? I'll pay you a monthly rent. Maybe you do it at one of the empty storefronts, one of the retail places that didn't make it because of COVID. Maybe you rent out a room at the Boys and Girls Club or one of the private clubs in the neighborhoods in the area, and you say, I'm going to open what is it going to be called? I'm going to be opening the Keswick Educational Pod here on the east side of Keswick, east side of Albemarle County. Or this is the new South Side Pod that's going to serve Old Lynchburg, Fifth Street Extended, Avon Extended. And the new South Side Pod will be held at those warehouse spaces down Avon Extended where Bright Beginnings is, in that Mill Creek area. I'm going to have a new Southside pod. The first 100 students get it at $300 a week. That's lower than ACAC. Maybe it's $295 a week. Hey, that's 10% reduction on ACAC, okay? Then you could have a pod for Crozet. You could have a pod for Forest Lakes and Holly Mead. How about a pod for Belmont? All you need for a pod is a space so your kids can learn in person, stand 6 feet apart, that has good ventilation, has good air conditioning, has good cleaning products, and good access to technology, and you have a price point. Dude, if you were a group of parents and you charge $275 a week, you would have a freaking waiting list for students at your pod. And this, my friends, is called the privatization, the commoditization of education in America, a capitalistic society, undoubtedly, that we live in. Like and share, like and share. That's novel, innovative thinking that's not being covered elsewhere. Bashir says, howdy, welcome to the broadcast. Andre Xavier says, college is the biggest business on the education system. They sell the idea of prestige and opportunity, but no one really talks about the debt you are required to take on. Andre, amen, 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 amen. I've openly said to my wife, if our little boy wants to take over the family business and not go down the road of 4-year college, I would be totally fine with that as a father. If he wants to take over the real estate, if he wants to take over any of the businesses, he can do it, and mom and dad would not be bummed that he did not go to a 4-year college. Okay? And that is a very, very, very different mindset than me growing up when it was expected. When it was expected to go to college. Give the show a like, give it a share. Gary Grant calls it Poducation. I love that, Gary Grant. I'm going to steal that. Instead of education, it's now podjugation. Amy Whalen says, this is great and scary at the same time. Thank you for watching, Amy and Gary, and thank you for offering your perspective. All right, a couple more headlines. Man, this show is flying by. I got a conference call in 12 minutes that I can't miss with an important client. All right, next headline. The next headline, how about from UVA, Judah? Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech headline. So guys, here's what would happen. On Monday, Virginia Tech cornerback Caleb Farley wrote a column for Pro Football Talk. And on this column for ProFootballTalk.com, Caleb Farley, who's a projected first-round draft pick, he explained why he chose to quit on the 2020 season. He says, dude, I'm concerned about my health. And I'm paraphrasing. He says, I'm concerned about my health. We have guys on this football team that are coming back from Myrtle Beach, guys that are coming back from home and returning to campus, guys that were not getting tested at Virginia Tech. We're all working out together. We're all close to each other. We all live next to each other. We have no real idea of what we have in our body. Nobody can because we don't have the tests. One day I looked around the locker room and we were about 100 people deep in our indoor facility. Nobody had masks on, and my concern grew more and more, so I'm quitting the Virginia Tech football team effective immediately, and I'm going to prepare for the National Football League draft where I'm projected to be a first-round draft pick. Folks, this is a huge hit to Virginia Tech, a huge hit to its football team. Someone from its roster on its football team is straight up saying, I'm in a locker room in an indoor facility, 100 people in this indoor facility, none of us have masks on, and none of us are getting tested. As a result, I am going to quit playing football at Virginia Tech, which has been my dream my entire life, to play big-time college football and impress scouts to get to the NFL. I'm going to give up my dream of playing football in the Atlantic Coast Conference for the Virginia Tech football team, and instead I'm going to take a year off and just focus on being a pro football player. This is a big freaking deal. Virginia Tech is not responding with public statements as of now to the media. That's a PR 101, no, 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 no. Furthermore, any program in America, whether it's a professional sports team, a college sports team, a high school sports team, please learn from this situation. Communicate and be transparent. Remember the restaurants in Charlottesville City when they were having to close because of COVID, and the restaurant posted on their Facebook page, we're closing because of COVID, and we're letting you know. How did the community in the city of Charlottesville and Central Virginia respond to those announcements on Facebook? We embraced them, and we said, thank you for your honesty. Thank you for being honest about what's going through the kitchens and the dining rooms of your restaurant. We ask the football teams and the sports teams at the professional college and high school level to be the same. We will not judge you. We will appreciate you for your honesty. Where we will judge you is if we're not getting the communication and transparency that we deserve. I think every football team in the ACC, all of them in NCAA football, and the ones at the professional level can learn from this circumstance. And I can bet you, and I will bet you money, that more potential first-round draft picks are going to opt out of playing college football in the 2020 season for fear of injury, for fear of contracting COVID, and for fear of how a condensed season will impact the health and the resume that they have for getting drafted in the NFL. Write it down. Write it down. That's what football should do, is to learn from what Virginia Tech is going through. Let's go to comments. This is from Carol Thorpe. Jerry, the faint rumble you hear in the distance is the gathering clamoring for educational vouchers. Mark my words, it's finally coming on a grand scale. If the public school system and local governments cannot figure out a way to reopen next fall, I think tax-paying parents are willing to absorb the double hit to their wallets this school year, as well as scramble to navigate the unknowns of our newly COVID world. But patience and funds will wear thin, and parents will demand their tax money returned to them to pay for alternatives if in-person public schools remain closed next year. Dudes, this is a very real statement. A very real statement. Public schools funded by taxpayer dollars. If you're a public school parent and you don't feel your taxpayer dollars are being allocated appropriately and creating the educational opportunities that they should create, will you then demand a reimbursement on the taxpayer dollars that you paid to that public school system? That's serious. That is serious. Take it a step further. If you're a taxpayer that's paying a portion of your taxes to public schools, and you're a public school parent, and you're pulling your students from the public school system, and instead paying for them to learn at ACAC, at the YMCA, at Walnut Hills Baptist Church in Williamsburg, Virginia, the Baptist church I grew up in, or at a private school that's even more expensive, are you going to say, I'm getting hit twice? First, taxes I'm paying to the school system, and second, tuition I'm paying to the home pods or the private schools. Give me some of my taxes back. Do I think you're going to get your taxes back or get vouchers? No. But do I think people are going to ask for them? Hells to the yeah. Heck yeah. Lee Hughes, welcome to the broadcast. 12 o'clock is tough for me, Lee, because I'm doing a live show at that time. Let's see if we can find an alternative time, Lee Hughes. Julian Freeman says, buy clean gold. Good call, Julian Freeman. I buy gold. Gary Grant, thanks for admitting that your kids and my grandkids will eventually have to pay with their blood, sweat, and taxes for all these COVID-19 handouts. Amen. My 2-year-old is going to have to make up the debt that we're flooding America with. The PPP money, this $120 billion that should go to restaurants, locally owned restaurants, it should go to them. Any kind of other stimulus money that's going to be out there, it's going to impact your Social Security, and my kid, your grandkids are going to have an uphill battle to deal with this mounting debt. And if we don't realize that, then we're just not in tune with society. Will Vanderlyn, welcome to the broadcast. Love you, Will. Love you, Will. Miss seeing you around the block, Will. Need to see you soon, Will. Give the show a like and a share. This one's from Laura Monk. Jerry, I watch your show every single day. It has gotten better and better. Please thank your guest for being vulnerable and coming on the show and give us some insight into what he's doing with his educational pod. We're working on one of the same, and we'll go to his Scottish Shortbread's page to find out the link about the curriculum he's going to use for his pod. Thank you, Anwar, for joining us on this show. Thank you for leaving that comment, Laura. All right, that's it for me. More comments, real quick. Laura Brooke Allen, the homeschool group he is referencing, he is directing challenge at the Maple Grove Baptist Church. I'm happy to highlight that on the show, Laura Allen. Just send me the details, and we will put it on the I Love CVille show tomorrow. You can send me a DL, Laura Brooke Allen, with that. So much good stuff right here. Oh, what are we doing tomorrow? Tomorrow, we have a senior at Monticello High School, a standout softball player tomorrow on the broadcast. And I'm going to ask a senior at Monticello High School that's a standout softball player that has aspirations for playing college softball, what COVID-19 is doing to her high school career, how it's changing her mindset, how it's impacting her recruitment and her exposure. Interesting topic on tomorrow's broadcast on the I Love CVille Show. Also, for those that are watching, get ready for... So I Love CVille has the third largest Instagram community in Charlottesville. You have UVA and you have the city of Charlottesville. We have over 12,000 followers on the I Love CVille Instagram. Over 12,000 people follow our Instagram. Get on there and follow it now. No one besides the city of Charlottesville or UVA has more followers on Instagram than I Love CVille. So we are now going to take the headlines portion of the I Love CVille show right before the interview and live stream what I am doing through headlines to over 12,000 people on Instagram. We have, folks, I'll take it a step further. Did you know that I Love CVille and VMV Brands across all its Twitter accounts, we have 17 Twitter accounts. Did you know I Love CVille and VMV Brands across LinkedIn? We have the largest collection of Twitter followers across our network at the I Love CVille Network. The largest combination of LinkedIn followers is the I Love CVille Network in all our pages. So, next week, we're going to stream my headlines to I Love CVille Instagram. Over 12,000 followers. We're going to live stream to our collection of Twitter pages and our LinkedIn pages. We are going to amplify our reach on the I Love CVille show, the show you are watching right now, by over 3x. I am going to triple the reach of the I Love CVille show in less than a week as we take it across Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. That means our reach is the combined reach of both TV stations in one. Think about that. Both TV stations combined in one will be our reach across Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. It's the I Love CVille show. I'm Jerry Miller. I'm back tomorrow at 12:30.